Welcome back everybody to another video. Today we are back for another video on my channel for once again predicting the next team out of 32, so 2 of 32. I'm predicting the Cleveland Browns 2021 to 2022 NFL season stats, record, player stats specifically, all that kinds of stuff. So we will get into it very soon. Before I do though, I do want to say first off, if you're new, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss any of my videos. I'll be going over every single team and doing this. Also, for those of you that have already subscribed to my Madden content that I normally do, as you guys know, if you do watch me for Madden or you play Madden yourself, you know there's not a lot of content on there right now, so there's not much for me to do. But guys, don't worry about that because I know for those of you that have subscribed for my Madden content, you want Madden content regardless, so I will try my best to get those videos out. But we have 32 teams to go through for me to finish this before next football season, which we still have, a month or two. If you guys didn't see my last video, we did do the Cincinnati Bengals, who were the bottom of their division. Next up were the Browns, and then the Ravens, and then the Steelers, although it doesn't really sound like, it sounds like the Browns had a bad year. They didn't. The Bengals were at the bottom at 4-11-1, and then next was them at like 11-5, I think, so it was not near as bad as it sounds. So we will move on to the Browns now, though I know that was a bit of a longer intro. We will get right into it. First off, we're going to go down to receiving the same way we did it last week. I'm going to try and keep that same format for you guys. So if you like the way I do this video, you want to see another team, I'm doing it the same way every single time. So first up, we're going to Baker Mayfield. So he's 25 years old. He played all 16 games this year. He had 26 touchdowns on only 8 interceptions. And he passed for 3,563 yards. And so this, I think, is a huge plus for the Browns because there's a lot of question going into this year if Baker was going to be able to continue to improve and kind of take it to the next level, and he definitely did that. He had a very good year, also considering Odell only played, I think, 7 games before he tore his ACL, so he wasn't working with one of his best receivers. I think he put together a pretty good year. I think he definitely proved people that he can throw the football, he can play under pressure, he can come out and win big games. Huge season for Baker Mayfield, and all you Browns fans, I'm sure, are very happy to see that he is the real deal. He is your franchise QB. I think he can definitely be there for several more years. I mean, he could stay there his whole career if he really wanted to, and hopefully they'll be able to, win a Super Bowl. It'd be pretty cool to see the Browns win a Super Bowl. I wouldn't mind that. But as for Baker Mayfield, he had a great year, better than I actually thought he did. But if we go down to rushing and receiving, this is where it's pretty awesome, honestly, for Browns fans because they had Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, two of their running backs, both over 1,000 yards. Kareem Hunt had 1,145, and Nick Chubb had 1,217, which is absolutely awesome to see from a running back duo. That is very nice. Rushing-wise, they both, I guess Kareem Hunt had 6 touchdowns. Nick Chubb actually had 12. And then receiving for touchdowns, Kareem Hunt had 5, and Nick Chubb had 0. So pretty balanced there. I mean, that's 12 to 11 in total. Nick Chubb had 1 touchdown if you're combining rushing and receiving, which is awesome because it shows that one's really good at rushing, one can power through there and get the runs. Kareem Hunt can do a little bit of that and a little bit of receiving and run it in. So huge right there for the Browns. But to go down to Jarvis Landry, he played 15 of the 16 games, and receiving-wise, he did really well. He had 850 yards from scrimmage. Receiving yards, he had 840, so he had 10 rushing yards. But yeah, basically 850. Receiving-wise, he did have 3 touchdowns, which is a little low, but he had, like I said, 850 yards. Like that, he's a huge target for Baker Mayfield. So he did only have 3 touchdowns, so that could probably be better next year. I would hope maybe he gets in the end zone a few more times because, for reference, Odell only played 7 games. He played 8 less than Jarvis and also had 3 touchdowns. So that's why I was saying maybe a little bit low. But then again, they are 2 different players. They play totally different. Odell is definitely more of an end zone shot, whereas Jarvis Landry, he gets a lot of third down conversions for the Browns. He's a very reliable target. Not saying Odell isn't, but I'm just saying that is the difference. Odell is a lot more the target on the deep balls or target in the end zone. Also, tight end-wise, Austin Hooper had a really good year with 435 receiving yards, which is honestly not that bad. He also had 4 touchdowns to go along with it. And I think one of the bigger things here is that with Odell out, they needed someone to step up. But they didn't have just one guy. They kind of had everybody step up in their own little way that contributed a lot. Because if you go in here just to yards from scrimmage, I mean, they had Peoples-Jones who had 304. They had David Njoku that had 213. They had Harrison Bryant that had 238. They had Rashard Higgins who had 599. Hooper that had 435. And then Odell, like I said, 391. And like, yeah, so they just, a lot of targets for Mayfield to pass the ball around and really spread it around, which is really hard on a defense when you need to cover a lot more guys to focus on when everybody can get the ball and everybody can make plays. But I think the difference with the Browns is that they can move the ball in different ways. Like, Mahomes will just, he'll bomb on the field, Tyreek Hill and stuff like that. The Browns are different because they can run it and like pass out of the backfield because their running backs are both so good at both. Like, obviously, like I said, Nick Chubb didn't have any receiving touchdowns, but he still had his fair share of receiving yards. So it wasn't like it was really, way less or anything. So I think that's the big plus side, is that just they have so many guys that can get the ball and make plays in so many different ways. So it's harder on defense to have to cover so much when, he can run it, he can also catch it, and you also have the receivers, obviously, that can catch it. And you have Austin Hooper that can not only block, but can go out on routes. There's just a lot of things to guard, and it's really hard on defense. I think that's why the Browns were just so dangerous this year. And I also think another reason for that is I think Baker Mayfield surprised a lot of people. I'm not sure if anyone was expecting him to pass for as many yards as he did, but I think he really, really showed out. So defensive-wise, this is where I think things get a little shaky. So in the AFC Championship game, they obviously played the Chiefs and almost made it to the Super Bowl if it wasn't for that fourth down conversion that kind of put them away. I believe there was also a pivotal play in there where it should have been targeting and it wasn't called, and that would have been a touchdown for the Browns. So definitely a great game to watch. It was, if you just love football, it was a great game. So for the Browns, though, I think one of the biggest problems in that game was their secondary, because they had to have guys try and cover Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Sammy Watkins and McCole Hardman. Is Sammy Watkins still on the team? Okay, whatever. Either way, Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, a ton of guys like that. And so they really couldn't. They did the best they could, which honestly could have won them the game, like I said, but there were some calls or certain plays in there that did kind of go otherwise. But I think they don't have that one just huge defensive presence in the secondary. They have Myles Garrett, and that's what I'm talking about right now, though. He had 48 combined tackles. He had 33 on his own. He had 15 assists, 10 tackles for loss, and 18 QB hits. No safeties, but that is, those are some big numbers. And he played 14 of the 16 games. I remember watching the Bengals versus Browns. I think it was like on maybe Thursday Night Football or something like that. And like I said last video, the Bengals have a horrible offensive line. But Myles Garrett was getting there just every single play. And I don't think it was much different playing any other teams. The dude is just an absolute monster. So obviously I think he is the leader of that defense, but they need somebody in the secondary that can do that. They did draft, I don't remember what his name is, but it was a corner, I think, out of Washington. I'm going to check on that right now. Yeah, they did get Greg Newsome the second. I can't remember who it was, but that's what they picked up for the secondary. So that should be a great addition along in there. And I think that their defense, they have to just keep strengthening. But I think the big thing is that because their offense is just so good, they can afford to have a few holes on defense, but they can make up for it. I think it's just kind of definitely the weaker spot in that team, but the offense is a huge threat, and it's working. Like I said, AFC Championship. There might seem like some holes in there or things aren't working out, but AFC Championship, they made it there. So, you can't argue with that. I see a big year for the Browns coming. I'm going to predict that record at the end of the video. Alright guys, so for Baker Mayfield, like I said, he played all 16 games. I'm going to be basing my predictions off of assuming he stays healthy and plays all 16 games, and that goes for everyone I'm going to predict, because I don't want to predict anybody get injured. Injuries suck. I don't want to predict that at all. So, Baker Mayfield, he had 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. I see him actually putting up pretty similar numbers. I will say I'm going to give him, I think, 2 more touchdowns and actually 1 less interceptions. I'm going to say 28 touchdowns on 7 interceptions. Not too much of a change, but I do think he's going to be very, very consistent. 3,500 passing yards. I think he's honestly going to get a little less than that, even though he's going to get more touchdowns. So I think probably around 3,300 is more realistic, because I also think they just proved how dangerous that backfield is last year. So I don't know if they're going to be passing the ball as much as they did this past year. But then again, Odell is back. So that prediction could be way off. I'm not going to lie. It's really going to depend what they want to try and do there. So I think a fair guess would be 3,300 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions for Baker Mayfield. All right, guys, and then for Kareem Hunt, he did have, I think, 1,145 yards from scrimmage. He did have 5 receiving touchdowns and 6 rushing. I do think it's actually going to be evened out next year. I'm going to give him 1 more receiving touchdown, and I'm going to give him 1 more rushing touchdown. So I was going to say even it out, but I think I'll give 1 more rushing. So I think 7 and 6. Still 1 off, but I think, from this past year, but I think he'll get 1 more rushing touchdown. And then for yards from scrimmage, I'm actually going to give him 1,200. I think he'll get a little bit more, not too many more, but considering he'll get another receiving, another rushing touchdown, I do think he'll get a little over 1,200. Not too much more than that, though. And then for Nick Chubb, who had 12 rushing touchdowns and no receiving touchdowns, I'm actually going to give him 11 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns for next year. So I think we'll have a couple more receiving. And then he had 1,217 yards from scrimmage. I'm going to give him 1,270 yards. I don't see him breaking 1,300 yards from scrimmage, but I think he will get very close. Then go down to, I think, Odell Beckham Jr. is the next guy I'm going to predict. We're not going to do Jarvis Landry today. So Odell, bouncing back from his injury, if he plays all 16 games, and in the only 7 he played, he did have 391 yards from scrimmage in 7 games and 3 touchdowns. I don't know if he'll get over 1,000 yards because I feel like Baker has so many more targets he might not, even though, of course, he is Odell. So I think he'll get probably around 900, but I do see him getting around 6 or 7 touchdowns. And hopefully Odell can stay healthy. And then, guys, for Myles Garrett, assuming he plays all 16 games, of course, 48 combined, 33 solo, 15 assisted, and 10 tackles for loss. I'm not going to do every single one of those because I think they'll be pretty similar. But I do think he'll have 13 tackles for loss and 22 QB hits. I see him having a very, very big year in the backfield because I think he's just a beast. And, yeah, those are my specific player stats for everyone on the Cleveland Browns. If we take it back up to the top, I think the Cleveland Browns in 2021 and 2022 will get a 12-5 record. I see them coming out and having a huge year. They were 11-5 last year. I see them being 12-5 this year, having 17 games in the season. I think another big year for the Browns. Will they get to the AFC Championship again? I'm not sure about that. But I definitely think they're going to be a serious threat in the AFC. But guys, that is going to do it for the video. This is the predictions for the Cleveland Browns. I am going, through divisions. So at next, I think it's going to be the Steelers, but I'm not for sure about that. No, it's going to be the Ravens, and then the Steelers, kind of basing it off positions from last year, or standings from last year. So that is going to do it for the video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you guys did enjoy. Comment down below what you think the Browns are going to do in this upcoming year, or your favorite team, or whatever. I don't care. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.